All right, we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the GetGrowing weekly work session with GetOiling. I'm Coach Ashley. We are joined today by the entire GetOiling team, founders Greg and Amanda Kilwine and the fabulous Kim Meng. They're up in the snowy tundra. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Cold.
Good.
Very cold.
Fabulous. You guys who are tuning in live, go ahead, let us know where you're coming in from. How is it where you are? It's like 29 degrees when I walked the dog in Brooklyn today. Not happy about that, but I'm sure you guys are laughing at me right now because that's warm to you. Anywho, all right, yeah, so come over into the chat, you guys. Let us know where you're coming in from. Today, we have an in-depth training on campaigns. And I've got some slides prepared for you. I know that this is a really hot topic in our inbox over the last week or so. And so we wanted to give special attention to this topic. Also really understanding that, I mean, just to put this out here, how many of you who are here today, just quick show of hands, have a digital marketing background and already know how to deal with campaigns? Exactly. No one.
No hands.
No, none. Nobody. Right? So the fact is that none of us here right now had some kind of professional training in this stuff. And I mean, and present company included, right? This is something that you learn to do over time because it is a valuable thing to know how to do for your business. It's not a magic thing that you just know right away, but it's something that's worth figuring out. So we're going to go over what they are, how they work, what they do for your business, when you should and should not use them, as well as ways you can literally use them or tweak them inside of the GetOiling platform so that this is a very easy thing for you to use. So we've got warm Vail, Arizona. Jealous. What's up, Philly suburbs? I was just over there. I've been to Philly a couple times in the last month. I like it over there. Great restaurants. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to go through some slides. If you came here today with questions, or if you came here today with a specific need, request for us to even get into your account and help you make sense of things while you're here, go ahead and put that request or those questions into the Q&A, and we'll get to those just as soon as I'm done with the teaching portion of these slides. So with that, I'm going to come over and get onto this share, and let's get this show on the road. All right, so again, welcome you guys. If this is your first time, we do these sessions every Thursday, live unless it's a holiday or convention, and it's always an opportunity for you to learn how to grow your business, how to develop skills that are profitable and useful to your business, and then of course to get that hands-on support if you need it. Again, the invitation is open. If you're a GetOiling member, we can get into your account with you live on screen and help you make things work the way you want them to if you're stuck or struggling. But today, we're going to talk about campaigns. This is sort of the definitive guide to what they are and how to use them. So first, we're going to go over what a campaign actually is, when to use them, because there are times when you don't want to use campaigns. You can learn campaign best practices today, what to do, what not to do, and the things that will make them less work for you in the big picture. Because campaigns, if done correctly, actually do the work for you. You work once. It's kind of like residual work, but you work once, and it's like you got a robot working for you over and over again if you do it right. I'm going to show you how to do that today. You're going to learn how to create these campaigns in your account, how to customize and edit campaigns that either we have provided or that you've gotten from a third-party provider, such as Grow Workspace, how to edit those, whether that's editing the actual content of the campaigns themselves or editing the way in which the campaigns are delivered. And then finally, we'll get into Q&A, Wild West style, bring us all your questions, and we will spend all the time that we can getting through those and helping you guys out. So first, what is a campaign? Pretty simply, it is a pre-written sequence. Sometimes it's called a drip campaign, right? Where it is a sequence of things, right? And in this case, a sequence of messages, email or text, that is designed to self-distribute, meaning it automatically drips out at set intervals over a set period of time. This is a pretty broad definition. You're probably noticing. Again, it could be email or text. It's pre-written, so once it's done, set it and forget it. It could drip out once a day. It could drip out every other day. It could drip out every 5 minutes. It could go on for a year. It could go on for 3 days. It could be a single message, however you want to have it set up. But at the end of the day, what you need to know is a campaign is a robot that you make that communicates with your people in a way that you design for it to communicate, right? So whether that's over a set period of time, over a set frequency, and then of course, with those concepts or ideas broken out over a stream of messages. Now, I want to compare campaigns to other forms of messaging, because campaigns are not the end all when it comes to reaching people. So first, I want to talk about broadcast messages. These are email or text messages. And the purpose that you would use broadcast messages for, which broadcasts are different from campaigns, this is a one-to-one situation where you can send that out. Sorry, let me go back. There we go. You can send it out, and you see in the image here, I've got one person talking to one person. Obviously, when you send an email from your existing email carrier right now, or you send a text from your phone right now, just without another app, just email or text, you can send a message manually to one or more people at a time, right? That is a single one-to-one broadcast message. You are sending something out into the world. That's what I mean by broadcast here. So you can use that feature, of which there is 2 ways to do this inside of GetOiling, which is to select a contact or a couple of contacts and send a personalized message that you will only ever send once, and reach out, right? The purpose of this could be a follow-up. So if you have a lead who you shared information with and you're following up, maybe they said they needed to speak with their spouse. Care calls for your members is going to fall into this category. Invitations to an event or to a class falls into this category as well, as do check-ins if you're checking in with your builders, if you're checking in with your members, and so on. This is an individualized, personalized, one-to-one, not particularly leveraged message, okay? Think about it like a single email or a single text. Then you have the bigger broadcast, right? The broadcast where you can blast out a message to everyone who is a member of yours, everyone who is a lead of yours, everyone who is a builder of yours, right? Or just everyone, period. This kind of broadcast is a mass message that is written once, designed to send once, and is typically time sensitive, calendar specific, meaning this is about a date or a date and time on the calendar. Typically the things that fall into this category are things like announcements, right? If you have promotions or monthly PV promos fall into this category. Newsletters fall into this category, where you would send out a monthly or a quarterly or a weekly newsletter, however you choose to do that. That's a broadcast message, not a campaign. And you can also syndicate your content in this way as well. So if you create a blog post or you make a video and you want to make sure that it gets shared out to everyone who is on your email or text list or both, you send out a mass broadcast. Okay, so just to recap, we've got a single, I am reaching out to you, or maybe you plus one via text and email. You've got a broadcast, which is a single message that is scheduled or is sent a la minute to the people that you want to reach, that is time sensitive and pertains to something that is happening right now. And then finally, you have campaigns, okay? 3 different ways to reach people. Campaigns are fully automated, and they are designed to break up a concept so that you can reach and teach and educate and nurture an individual toward greater understanding or toward greater likelihood of purchase or whatever that end might be. So what you use campaigns for are things like product education, right? If you're going to talk about a product or a product line, you can completely overwhelm somebody with all the details if you just send them one email that's got all the stuff in it, right? How many of us really, really like to sit down and read an email that's as long as a book? I can tell you the numbers are not in your favor if that's what you want to do. People tend to not take in that kind of information. People will take in and act on information that is broken up into smaller pieces. And so the idea here with campaigns and what campaigns can do for your business is that instead of going and composing an email every time you have an idea, or trying to sit down and figure out, okay, well, how can I explain the whole starter kit? Or how can I explain everything about the thieves line? You can actually break this up into concepts that are easy to understand, easy to digest, that people will want to revisit and take in and learn more. So you can do this with product education, like I mentioned, member education, new lead sequences. So if you've got someone who finds your blog post or finds a video that you make on the internet or a post that you made on Facebook and they find themselves on your site, maybe you offer up a lead magnet. Maybe you have a guide that they can print and take with them to the grocery store that helps them to navigate the labels on the bottles, right? That person who opts in to get that guide from you would then get a series of emails that will start to warm them up to the idea of who you are, why you're an expert and what you're an expert in, and why they may want to have a conversation with you about this really cool thing you've got that can save them lots of time, get them free product, and, you know, allow them to live with wellness, purpose, and abundance, right? That's not something that we communicate in a single message that we broadcast out. That's the kind of thing that we can break down and space out into multiple messages over time. And to save you time, your campaigns will do this for you. No matter what time someone signs up, where in the world they are, it will say the same things that you would normally spend the days, minutes, hours to do one-to-one, whether it's via email or text or sitting and talking with one person at a time. You are now able to do that in volume at scale, because campaigns are the little robots that go and act like you. They follow up with the information in sequence. Does that make sense? Are you guys following? Quick show of hands. Is that making sense? Are you seeing how there's two different types of broadcast? There's one that is individualized, that's one time. There's one that is mass, that is one time. And then you've got campaigns, which are best used for things like education and nurturing leads toward taking next steps with you. Right? The other thing, and a lot of you guys are really familiar with doing text classes or email classes. This falls into campaigns. That's actually the perfect vehicle for this. And these are things, and another thing, this is really important. You can send a broadcast message out to someone or send an individual a personal email out to someone, whether they have opted in, meaning gone to a web page and put their information in to receive info from you. You can send them personalized emails without having done that. But to be able to receive a campaign, this is permission marketing. This is where people go and they say, yes, I want to hear from you. And then your website system, GetOiling, starts delivering those messages for you automatically. All right. So that's sent after opt-in. Now let's talk about when to use a campaign. First, again, it's to break up a big topic into easier to digest pieces like education and classes. You use your campaign to introduce someone to yourself or to an idea gradually, and to systematize your sharing of information so that you're not going one-to-one trying to figure out what to say every time it's time to say something to someone. All right. This is like condensing what you would normally do and then having a thing or like an assistant or a robot do it for you over and over and over again. And this creates automation and, of course, leverage in your business, because if you aren't spending the time trying to reinvent the wheel every time you're going to basically say the same thing that you did to the last person, you've got a thing that'll say it for you, and that saves you a ton of time. All right, so how do campaigns work? First, people will begin receiving those automated sequences, those messages in your campaign after they opt in, no matter what date and time they opt in. Okay, so this is where if you have a text in keyword that then releases a 10 message sequence that breaks down and talks about a particular product line, right? They can text in your keyword for that class to your GetOiling number, and they can start receiving that whether it's 2 a.m., 6 a.m., Tuesday, Saturday, whatever, right? Now, just to kind of break this down a little further, and this is where I think it's really important for a lot of you guys. There's a particular campaign that one of our providers is using right now that was date specific for the month of January. And if you didn't have everything set up in time to launch it on, I want to say like the 31st of 2019, then you might have found yourself in a frustrating position. Well, how do I use this, right? So this is why it's important to use the, to keep in mind the dates aren't really things that you want to include in campaigns, because everyone doesn't get the same thing all the time. It depends on when they decide to opt in, right? There are ways for you to mass apply, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But the way that this typically works is that if Joe opts in, whether that's via a text in keyword or a landing page, if he opts in right now, and then Sally opts in tomorrow, Joe and Sally are not going to see the same message each day. Joe is going to be a day ahead in the campaign. Does that make sense? Quick show of hands. Making sense? All right. Good, good, good. All right. So if, and this is, we do have a way for you to make sure everyone has the same thing at the same time. If you want everyone to see the exact same message at the same time, you can consider using a scheduled broadcast instead, because you can take a message like an email and you can schedule it for tomorrow, right? You can schedule it for next year, and it will go out at the date and time that you specify to the people you specify, to the people who are tagged. The other option that you have, which we'll show you here in just a bit, is that if you have this in a campaign, you can apply your campaign in bulk to a set of tagged contacts. So let's just say, for instance, you want to run a wellness challenge in February to your members. You have a campaign sequence that you're going to use to do that. On January 31st, you would apply the campaign to all of your members in your system, and then they would start receiving those emails, and they would get, or texts, and they would get them at the same time, okay? So day 0, and we'll show you what some of this stuff looks like, all right, after we go through this. I didn't want to like, volley back and forth between slides and screen sharing. So we'll go over just a couple more points here. Day 0, you'll find is when the message is sent immediately. So when you set up a campaign, you have, there's sort of a funny thing with the numbers if you haven't done this before. Obviously this works a little different with texting, but you'll notice that there is a day 0 option. That is an immediate send. That means this will go out to someone immediately. And then from there, you choose the interval between the messages when you're creating your campaign. So if you want someone to receive a message every other day, you would begin with day 0, and then the next message would be on day 2, right? Because you skip a day. All right, let's talk about best practices for campaigns. Again, there's lots of ways you can sort of hack the system. Excuse me. You can hack the system to get things to work the way that you really want them to, but a lot of that's kind of an uphill climb. So it's really important for you, if you want to eliminate frustration and you want this to really work well for you and easily for you, it's good to be prepared. It's good to think ahead and have a few key things in mind to save yourself the struggle or the additional work into the future. So here's some best practices for campaigns. When you are setting out to create one, right? This is assuming you are not taking one in from a third-party provider who's already written it for you. When you're creating a campaign, first create an outline. Use a word processor, use Microsoft Word or Open Office or Pages on Mac. Create an outline to organize your information. Because what you want to do when you create a campaign is to decide, what's the concept that I want to convey? How can I break that down, organize it out into multiple pieces that are easy to take in and act on? And then ultimately, what is my goal of this? What do I want people to do? What action do I want them to take as a result of taking in this information? So if you organize ahead of time and you use a word processor and truly literally use an outline, and point by point, here are the things that I want to convey, here are the actions that I want to take, you'll make sure that you have a complete campaign that does the thing that you want it to do, okay? Then write it all down in the word processor first. Can't stress this enough. Looking at a blank screen, looking at our editor or at a blank page is something that can be it's a very deer in the headlights moment for a lot of us. So write your stuff offline and then bring it online and format it in the editor. That way you are able to confidently go about completing and getting the message right that you want to share, without having to compile in potential frustrations, especially if you are just getting used to using our platform. Have your content ready before you come to actually create in the system. Also really important with campaigns, guys, use your own speaking voice. Authenticity over perfection always. I remember that the guy that I learned email marketing from is a guy who, and when I first started reading what he would send out every day, I cringed a little bit because his grammar was wrong. He would misspell things. He would not capitalize some things, and what I questioned how he was actually an authority, but that, was all in my mind, because the point that I want to drive home to you guys is that if you write like you speak and you just allow yourself to just kind of be who you are here, you're going to establish trust with people. If you try too hard to present a perfected front, to present an image that you think others want to see from you, they are not really going to warm up to what you have to say, right? Write like you talk, right? And just talk like your normal self in your writing. And if that means that you don't have perfect grammar, it's actually really okay and kind of works in your favor. That was a revelation for me. And it really does make a really big difference, you guys. So if you don't feel like you are a great writer, write like you talk and people are going to get you. The right people are going to get you. All right. Also, write like you're speaking directly to one person. Okay. So whether you are writing to one person or you are broadcasting or sending a campaign message out to thousands of people, you want to write like you are writing a personal email to one other person. And instead of using their name, you use a personalization tag. The more personal you can be in your email, the more receptive people are going to be to what you have to say, the more likely it's going to be that they want to open and read your messages, and then of course take action on them. And then make your point. Nobody likes fluff. You don't like fluff. They don't like fluff. So get to the point that you want to make. This again is really why it's important to start with the headline and have your work prepared. Be confident in having conveyed what you know you want to say before you get into the text stuff, okay? And always ask yourself, would I want to read me? Would I read this? Is this something that I would want to take time out of my day to read? And if your answer is yes, you're going to be great. Also, frequency is better than length. This is due in part to our culture, or really just the modern world, the modern attention span is that of a goldfish. It's about 8 seconds. So you want to grab people's interest and then, of course, do what you can with it in the time that you have. It's not very much. So it's better for you to text or email more frequently with relevant information in short form than it is for you to send really, really, really long, super in-depth, heavy information pieces. Because a lot of people are going to see it and be like, oh yeah, I kind of want to read that, but they don't have time, or they don't think they have time. And then they never actually get around to reading it. So put your work into actually organizing out the things so that you deliver them in smaller bullet points that are actionable and digestible. All right, really important with campaigns, avoid date-centric language. Now, I know we are going to get into an example right now for those of you who are using Grow Workspace and the Abundance Challenge for Grow Workspace. That is one that is very much designed for January of 2020. If you are someone who decided to use that campaign after the 1st of January, the 31st of December, then there are a couple of things that we're going to work with you on here today to help show you how you can make use of that specific campaign. But as a general rule, campaigns really should be a thing that are not date specific. Now, why is that? Campaigns take work to create. What you're doing in a campaign is you are breaking down a complex bit of information and you are working to move someone toward a decision that you would like for them to make, right? So the whole point of marketing is to help lead someone gently through the process of deciding that this thing that you have is the thing that they want. When you go through all of that work, why would you want to only ever use it one time? If you use date and time specific language in your campaigns, you are creating something that will be useful to you once, or that you will have to go and put a lot more work into to make it useful to you again in the future. Does that make sense? Quick show of hands, does that make sense? What a campaign can do for you is behave like an assistant or a robot for you in your business to save you time. So the best way to use campaigns is to use words like tomorrow, or in a couple of days, you're going to learn, or yesterday you learned, right? So saying words like tomorrow instead of next Monday, I'm going to tell you, right? Make sure you try to avoid, if you absolutely can, and it's really possible to do this as a best practice, avoid date-centric language so that this becomes an evergreen resource for your business, okay? When you use a campaign, it is really, really ideal to go about it this way because, again, it saves you a ton of time. And who here does not want to save time, right? All right. So now we're actually going to go and show you, let's get into the visuals here, how to create those campaigns and how to edit and customize campaigns that we either have for you in the system already or that you bring in from third-party vendors such as our friends over at Grow Workspace. We'll also take your Q&As as well. If we've got any questions, I guess we can go ahead and get started on those as we move over to screen sharing. All right, for the Q&A time, I think this is Bill. Bill and Carrie, best ways to get people to opt in and have our downline members opted in when they sign up. So when you, if you want to get your, it depends on what you want to do, Bill. If you have downline members from your VO, you can import over into, directly over into GetOiling. If you want to send them campaign style messages, what you can do is send a broadcast message out with a link to a landing page for them to opt into a campaign, or send them a text-in code so that they can receive that information. Basically just giving them the opportunity to give you permission to send them stuff regularly. Typically, in any other sort of email or digital marketing setting, we wouldn't necessarily mass import something like a list that we haven't already been emailing. And so what you do want to make sure that you do, just out of respect for your downline members, especially if you've got a lot of folks who, were not personally signed up by you, is to send out an introduction first in a broadcast and then give them the opportunity to raise their hand, you know, and say, hey, I want to hear more about these things. All right. Let's see. Stephanie says, has anyone tried making a newsletter, a brief campaign instead of a long broadcast? Well,
so I think maybe splitting. Oh, go ahead.
Well, please go ahead and share yours because I'm kind of I'm doing a little head scratch here too.
Okay. No, I was thinking, Stephanie, maybe leave a comment if this is wrong or right or whatever. But the way I'm understanding your question is, instead of sending out like maybe one super long newsletter every month, which I see being sent typically, like breaking that up into, let's say 5 or 3 or 10 or whatever short emails that are dripped out over the month. If I'm understanding that right. Okay, so they've got has long newsletters. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if your opinion on that, Ashley, but to me that makes sense.
So here's the thing. The funny thing about marketing outreach, whether it's text or email, I think this is especially important to consider with email, is that it's all about setting expectations and developing habits in your readers. So people can absolutely become conditioned to look forward to and get upset when they don't see your super long newsletter. right? This is totally a thing that you can, a reality that you can create. If you don't personally like it, then by all means do you, especially in this business. Like you aren't really doing anything other than broadcasting your best self out into the world and looking to attract those who are most aligned with that. So do what feels right to you, and you're going to better attract your tribe where your tastes are concerned and your communication, right? But what you can do, just for the sake of leverage, if you really like, you know, you're talking about Grow Workspace has a long newsletter. If you really like it, then send it once a month, and then send shorter emails throughout the month, and just have people expect to see a longer form thing at a particular time of the month every month. Awesome. Janet asked if everyone has access to that. If you are, I guess it just depends on what bundle you've got with Grow Workspace. But if you've got Grow Workspace and GetOiling, we work together to put those things together for you. Let's see. Okay, Bill. Bill says, just so I'm clear, I can't legally email my entire team without them opting in. We're a diamond team, and I'm dropping PB for GetOiling. We didn't have to have people opt in for PB, so I'm hoping this got you. Okay, so Bill, technically, because these are people who are in your organization, per your VO and your business, you do have permission to reach out to them. Absolutely, and you should. Especially if you're moving over and you're going to start doing this communication. If you were communicating with them on another platform, communicate with them the same way here, right? If people are already used to hearing from you, you know, in a certain way and at a certain frequency and with certain content, keep doing it. By all means, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And just moving over here is, you know, you just bought a different brand of wrench, man. Keep turning it. So what I'm mentioning though is generally speaking, if you have never broadcasted an email or text to your entire downline, and you got a big one where there's a lot of people who might not necessarily know where you are or who you are, it would be a polite thing to do to offer an opportunity for them to say, hey, I'd really like to get more of this kind of stuff. Or for them to say, okay, maybe I don't. That's all. Totally have the right and ability to do that. All right. Janet says, I have a GetOiling website. Where do I find Grow Workspace? They have their own website. For those of you who don't know, Grow Workspace, we started partnering with them back, was it November? And they create newsletters and classes and graphics and all of this great stuff that works beautifully inside of GetOiling. So if you aren't someone who really likes to write things and make things and graphic design things, then you can go and use their stuff and use us to get their stuff out to your people. And yeah. What's their website?
The link, we've got a link that's on our, so if you go to getoiling.com/grow, GRO, then that sends it over there. They've got a special deal for GetOiling customers on that link too.
Perfect. 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 All right. If a member opted out of YL emails, can we email them? I've had a few not realize they opted out at enrollment. Does that setting import over with the VO?
It does. Yeah. So if you've opted out, or if they have opted out inside the virtual office, the export file does not include their email address. So then it essentially shows up as no email address inside GetOiling.
Okay. Okay. So, you know, a thing I want to make sure that you guys know about, because we get a lot of questions about, you know, email or text, email versus text. There's a conversation that I was a part of in I think it was Martha's group the other day about like, oh, well, you know, I never read my emails, so I guess nobody reads emails anymore. You know, there's a lot of sort of armchair quarterbacking, theorizing about what works and what doesn't. But the most important thing you need to know is that the more channels you cover, the most consistently, the better off you're going to be. Because even if you do have, you know, maybe 60% of your people will respond to text messages and open text messages that you send, you can still get them via email, or maybe they don't open the message, but you can get them on Facebook, right? So you have a means through our platform to cover bases easily and in an automated fashion. You can send out, you know, via text and email at the same time. And say you're in a situation where we got a message here that said something about not having chosen, I think basically they saw that they could choose the area code once but never chose one, and now they've got a phone number that people will likely trash. If they're expecting to hear from you, they're not going to trash that number, right? If you send an email out and post it in your Facebook group, or actually do some manual outreach to people and say, hey, here's the number you're going to be hearing from me on now, it's going to be fine. And sure, some people aren't going to open, but those are probably the same people that wouldn't have anyway. So don't worry about it. Keep growing, keep building, keep adding and working with the people who are responsive. It's really kind of the same thing as building and sharing and growing this business. Some people are going to be like gung-ho, and then they fall asleep, disappear, poof. You work with those who are showing up and responding.
And for what it's worth, if that number hasn't really gotten out there, you can switch it. There's a way in 2-way texting, you can go and drop the phone number and then re-add it, and then it lets you choose another one. So if you're not like married to that number yet, by all means, you can go ahead and switch it.
Okay. Cornelia says, let me just share my first mistake. I started playing with a first blog post, and somehow that post was sent to my whole team. So about 1,200 emails sent out in Europe and the US, all in English. So I'm not in contact with all of them. And of course, some of them do not know me. So quite a lot opted out. So sad, but it happened. I wanted to introduce myself in German before sending out anything with them, but well, I guess it happened. So it happens, right? But the thing is it's okay. Like, these are still people who are a part of your organization. You're still probably connected to them in other ways, right? There are still multiple ways that you can still be a presence, whether that's in Facebook groups, right? If you've got those with your team, you should always, if you've got something that you need to announce, don't think that doing one thing is going to solve everything, right? If you build it, they will come is no more true when you get your kit, or no less true. Like, oh, I have a kit, now people are going to buy my stuff, right? Than it is when you create a campaign or send a text or send an email. We do still have to take into account that, people are people, humans are humans. And in this day and age, humans are super distracted. And if it doesn't click right away, they're gone. And that's not your fault, and nothing's broken. It's just, it is what it is. Just keep chugging along, and believe in abundance, because that's what got you to where you are today, and it's what's going to get you to where you want to be. Let's see. Is there a promo code for GetOiling subscribers who want to use Grow Workspace? That is getoiling.com, like Greg mentioned, getoiling.com/grow, GRO. Beautiful. Okay, so let's, there's a couple questions in the Q&A, and then I think we should get over and actually walk through some screen sharing and show folks how to get this stuff done. Gwen says, is there a way to export current campaigns, default from GetOiling or ones we've imported from Martha or Grow Workspace, into a word processor so we can edit with our own language and then go back and edit in GetOiling? Not currently. There's not like
there's no export. Yeah.
But
cool idea.
It is a cool idea. But if you think about it, if you are going to take an existing campaign and edit it to your language, you would have to be going in and sort of copying and pasting the stuff that you want rewritten anyway. So what I would do is, if you are editing a campaign that already exists, if you feel better about focusing and batch working and only doing that inside of your word processor, then you could go and manually copy and then paste into your word processor in sequence all of the emails, or you could just edit those emails to your voice. If the extent of the overhaul that you want to make is such that that seems like it would be too much, then maybe you need to write an entirely new campaign, and that's something you can absolutely do in a more streamlined fashion. There's not, so where you bring in campaigns that say we have pre-written for you, or that you've gotten through Go for Gold or through Grow Workspace, a lot of those are already ready for you. If you want to write them in your own voice, you can copy them. And we'll show you how to do that in a minute. You can copy an existing campaign, and then you can go in and edit the messages. So now you have both. You have the original, and then you've got one you can edit in your own language, in your own voice. With the exception, I think in the, I want to say it's like the 28-day challenge campaigns or something, there's There's a lot of editing that you're going to want to do, but the way that that's set up is going to save you a ton of time and I think make you super successful with challenges for a very long time. So worth the work, but it's some work. All right, Marie, what time by default do the messages after day 0 go out? Can the time be set to something other than default? Great question.
Yeah, so by default, if you don't specify time of day, it is, I believe, 5 p.m. Central Time every day that goes out. And on the premium and higher plans, yes, you can do that. And that's something I can show on the screen share here in a minute as well. So yeah, there is a way of specifying time of day on premium and higher. As well as like on day 0, if you have premium, there is a way to like offset it so you could send out a series of delayed messages after they opt in, not just one immediately, but like delay it 10 minutes or whatever you want to do. So
yeah, there's some super high-tech options in there.
Yeah. Cynthia also asked related to this before I do the share here. If someone opts out, or sorry, they can opt out and then opt in. So if you contact your contact and then ask, you can change that. Correct. Yes. Yeah. If you contact them some other way and they're like, oops, I accidentally opted out, or I would like back in, absolutely. You can go back there and edit the contact and opt them back in.
Yeah.
So
and the thing is too, if someone has opted out of emails from you, that doesn't mean that you can't send an individual email to them. So remember those 3 columns I was showing you guys where you've got one-to-one, broadcast, or like big broadcast, and then campaigns. You can still send one-to-one messages to people who have opted out of your campaigns. So if you want to find those people in your list and identify who they are and maybe send them a quick message and say, hey, I sent something by accident. I'd like to introduce myself. If you'd like an opportunity to stay connected, here's what we can do. And you can actually open up that avenue. So if, for Cornelia, I think that was you that had said that. And I know we've had folks make that mistake before too. And I know it's frustrating, but it's not the end of the world. You can still reach out to them individually. You just can't send them marketing messages, which would be mass broadcasts, right? So if you got a ton of people that you're sending a message to, or if you are sending a campaign, if they opt out, they don't get those, but you can reach out one-to-one. 100%.
Yeah, or it doesn't even have to be by email. It could be by phone call or text or Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever you want to use. So yeah.
Totally. All right.
Cool. Let me share this out here. Okay, can you see my screen okay? It just said my internet was flaky. So, okay, cool. So Gwen also asked, which is related, I'll show you this here in a minute. What are the other benefits of premium besides the date options on campaigns? I guess there's a whole bunch of things, but we can get into that a little bit. So diving into the campaign settings here, there's, I guess, just showing how to set that up. So campaigns are defined, so you can create your campaign, which does not send them out to anybody. You can just create a campaign and set that up under here, which is the contact setting, the contact settings, and then click on campaigns. And once you've done that, you'll get a list here of all the campaigns that you have. And for those, there's a column over here created by, there are some pre-written ones that come with GetOiling. You'll see those identified at the very bottom of the list. They're sort of categorized there. If you're creating a new campaign, there is a create campaign button on the bottom here. And I'll go edit an existing one just to show you too, but this is the creation screen. And this account that I'm in is a premium account, I believe, and it has two-way texting turned on. So this shows all of the features that are here. So you have to give the campaign a name and how it is sent. And then I'll explain that here in a minute. If you have two-way texting, then you get these pretty much all these other text fields down here, these 5 text-related fields. Like you can set up a text in keyword, so the campaign is automatically triggered when they type in the keyword. It'll automatically send it. There's also this sequential text in keyword where there are some drip campaigns where, we've seen some of our providers do this where, okay, we're going to send you 3 texts a day for the next 5 days. If you want to get them all now, reply with this keyword, and then that sends them all back to back 1 minute apart. And you can actually, related to texting, you can actually even set up an opt-out keyword for just that campaign. So if somebody is tired of that, you know, like, oh, they're on day 3 of this day 5 campaign and they're like, okay, this is good. They can text in this keyword and then it opts them out of that campaign without like completely blocking the number. Because if they reply with stop, that shuts off all future text messages to them. And you can even, for the text in with the two-way texting, you can even give them access to a vault if you have a prospects vault. You know, if you're doing a live or if you're, you know, at some event somewhere and you want people to get access to your prospects vault, you can set up a text in keyword and it'll send them a link to get in. This preferred sending medium actually has come up quite a bit, and we did this last week add a couple of options related to that. So just to explain this a little bit, I think this might help out some people. So the text in, or sorry, campaigns, of course, if you send by email versus text, there's a different number of marketing credits that it uses. Text takes more credits per message than email. So some people are like, I only want to send email. So what we did this week is create an email only, and, you know, on the flip side, a text only option here. Previously, there was an option called email only, but it was actually email preferred. It wouldn't force it to be email. So now what used to be email only is now email preferred. So there is actually an email only that literally will just never send a text, even if they don't have an email on file. So that's an option for you if you're looking to go to one medium or the other for either, you know, for various reasons, whether it's saving credits or, you know, not, or going, you know, just making sure that people get the text. So a lot of explanation on this screen. I think it's important clarifications for a lot of the questions we've been getting lately about that. Now, once you're in a campaign, I'll go to one that has several messages written so that we don't have to, I don't have to create any. But when you're in a campaign, you'll see that there's, well, actually, let me back up one point here. On this screen, you can see how many messages are in that campaign, as well as the number of contacts. This is a clickable link. So if you click on that, it will actually take you to a list of all the contacts that are on that campaign, which is super useful if you want to do like a bulk opt-out or a message to people who are on that campaign. You can, you know, bulk send their, like, for whatever reason, you know, if you want to interject your own message in the middle of that. So that's a nice option there as well. So I'll click on here, and this is where the campaign messages are written. You can write a new message with this button here, which will take you to a screen that lets you set up, you know, set up the message itself, subject, body, and text message, and so on. Those are pretty straightforward. We did, let's see here. And so to the questions about, like, what do you get on the premium versus basic? So what you'll see on basic and below plans, you'll see the send on day, the subject, and that's pretty much it. The send by, you get the send by, and if I click to open advanced, this is also something that shows up on premium and higher as well. So you can set the specific time of day. You can see the default time as an option here, but you also get a little date picker too. If you want to send this thing at, you know, 10:09 a.m. Central, whatever, you can totally do that specific message. I'm just going to reset this one back to default here and go from there. But so that this, you know, the send at time as well as this day 0 delay feature are on premium or higher. On the send by, this is also this is somewhat like it's related to that previous setting about the email only versus text only. And so what that does, if you choose the email only or text only, you can do that on a specific message basis. If you would leave your main campaign as, let me go over to the edit campaign details. If you leave it as email and text, which then follows the contacts preference, you can go ahead, or the campaign's preference. You can go ahead and then say, like, well, this message is only sent by text, but this next one's only sent by email. So you can mix these, mix and match those sort of things. You know, you want one message to go with one medium and another message to go with another. You can also do the preferred thing, which really it like falls back to the other medium based on their other, you know, each contact's preference as well. So,
Greg, how is this going to look or work for someone who is on basic? We had a question about which of these features work on basic memberships, because what you're showing right now is at premium and above, right?
Yep. So on basic, if I hide this little advanced thing, this is more or less what it looks like, and then this column of send by is not there. So you basically get the send on day and the subject, but you can't choose individual messages and how they're sent. This screen looks the same right here, this one with the actual campaign setup. You can choose the preferred sending medium. on a per campaign basis, but premium lets you specify on a per message basis as well as the time. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, okay. And
Let's see. Cynthia is asking if you ever have a choice to put in a time zone other than Central. If you're using, if you're at premium or higher, you can specify the time of day. Just make sure that you note the difference in time zone, with Central sort of being the the thing in the middle there.
Right.
Let's see. Follow up on Gwen's question. So if you choose text preferred, will the system use text if there's a phone number, but email if there's no phone number for that contact?
That is generally how it works. So but it does follow, anytime you choose the preferred, either these preferred options, or when you're on the campaign page itself, when you're choosing email and text or the preferred options, those actually fall back to each contact setting. And let me pull up one of my test contacts here. And when you go to edit the contact, there are settings about sending campaigns by email and text. And I think there's, you can go in and edit these obviously, but those preferred settings follow these. So if the campaign is set up to, or let's say you've got a message that's like, what did you say there? Text preferred. Then that in this case would fall back to email. If they had this unchecked, then it would not fall back to email. So it's kind of based on how the contact wants to do that in that particular case. So there's a few different layers it has to go through. First, it's like, what's the campaign setting? And if it's one of the preferred options, then it looks at the contact, and then it looks at the individual message for kind of an override if you have the text only. So.
Let's see. The default time you said is around 5 p.m. Central, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
yes.
then
That's
Stephanie.
when it starts.
Okay. And then Stephanie had a question. She says, I like having all contact info, phone and email in the contact manager. If a member prefers text, do I just opt them out of emails?
If it's for campaigns, well, I guess it depends on how you would set up your campaigns. You could do this, like just check the text box, and then if all your campaigns are set up to follow the contact, then this would work fine. If you want to absolutely make sure that they're not going to get any emails, you could come down here and opt them out of text. That's what this other box is down here. If you uncheck that box, then basically any bulk marketing or any bulk email that you send, any campaign email you send will not be sent because of this box is unchecked. So this is a little bit stronger of a setting, I guess, than this one is when it comes to that. So if you want to be absolutely sure that they're not getting emails, uncheck this box. So it's a decent option. If they click the just to show you what this, or tell you more about what this does, this is tied, every email that comes out of the system has a little opt-out link on the bottom. So if the contact clicks it, that will actually uncheck this box for them. So that is literally the same setting that the contacts use to opt themselves out of email down here, and text for that matter.
Okay, let's see. Claudia asked, so if I add texting for $9 a month, I only get a certain amount of credits. You get credits based on your membership level, and you can also purchase additional ones if you need them.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, the $9 a month that gets you for the texting, that gets you your own phone number, and then you get the unlimited incoming texts, unlimited one-on-one chat messages, which is when this chat, if I push this little chat button here, any messages in here back and forth are, it doesn't use any credits, but basically broadcast messages use credits, and then it comes with calling as well. So the $9 a month doesn't actually get you any credits, but it gets you all those other features and some, the unlimited one-on-one texting, which is a really nice feature. So you can send out a broadcast and not have to worry about hitting some credit limit when people are replying to you and watching some meter there. So.
Awesome. All right. So let's see. So we showed where you create the campaigns. So I think maybe just to kind of go back, just so we have an idea for those of you who are here right now, how many of you are using Grow Workspace and importing their campaigns over to us? Okay. A good amount of you guys. So maybe if we could show them, and in a different video, you guys can, and I think we have this on Grow Workspace as well, instructions on how to import stuff over from them. So we won't do that here in this video. But if you wanted to go in and edit a campaign that already exists, how could we go about doing that?
Yeah. So any campaign that you would import, I'll cover the time-based campaigns as well, since this has been a question too. But any campaign that you bring over from Grow Workspace or any other bundle sharing link is going to show up as a normal campaign in your list. All you have to do is come over, find it. I think all of theirs has, like this one, it's got, it's got Grow in front of it, I believe. You just click on it, and then it shows all the emails that are in there, and then you can click on it to edit it. So in the case, so what's been happening, so just to explain what this abundance challenge is, and I believe that they're planning on another similar one next month, that's kind of time-based. So keep this kind of in your back pocket. When this originally was designed, this specific one was like, okay, this is a January thing, January 2020, and add everyone to your campaign on December 31st, and then it's just going to flow automatically. Well, what's been happening is the people are wanting in on the middle of this, and because the campaign is very specific and time based, that we've had some confusion about, well, how do I actually do that in a way that gets the new people that joined in today, whatever, January 9th, how do they get the right message? And where that comes in, that you do that on a per contact basis. If you find your contact, and I'll go back to my contact here, I'm pretty sure my test contacts are on several campaigns. Go find the contact in your list and make sure, not only you have to drill into the contact, not just on the list, but go into the one that you're looking for. Scroll down, if you've seen the page of the activity and the to-dos and the past actions, you're on the right place. Scroll down, you'll see campaigns, and it shows you what day that they're on. And this specific one doesn't have that abundance challenge, but this basically works the same way. If you click on a campaign, I wonder, this one probably has multiple emails. If you click on the campaign for the contact, there's this little reset campaign icon here, kind of looks like a spinning arrow or circular arrow. So somebody joins the campaign today, January 9th, you'd want to go find, and this campaign isn't the right one, but you'd want to go find the message that they're supposed to get on today and click that, and then it'll ask, are you sure you want to reset this campaign for contact name to day 2? And if you hit OK, then that will jump them ahead. So you'd want to, let's say they opt in if you've got a keyword or if you've got a landing page or if you're just manually adding them, which you can do here too. If somebody calls you and they're like, hey, can I get on this thing? You can hit add and you can actually manually add them if you'd want to. But once you do that, you just have to go into their contact record and click this little circular arrow to reset them to the right day. If you go in and edit the campaign and you edit the days in the campaign, that really throws everything off in the sense that people are going to be, the existing subscribers are going to be affected. Everyone who's getting that campaign, if you go in there and you edit the campaign and shift all the days down by 1 and delete a message, well, the people, your existing subscribers are going to miss a message because they're already on whatever day that they're on. And then if you decremented all of them, it's going to, anyway, the best way to do that is just come into the campaigns, click on the campaign for that contact, and then hit the little reset button on the day that you want them to go to. And that's kind of how you add people to a challenge or a very specific time-based campaign later, after the original start date. So
Mm-hmm. And if you ever wanted to do something like this, you guys, and I think this is, if you're going to import what somebody else has got, so for Grow Workspace, for instance, this is a really great campaign. Their January thing. It's really good. If you're going to use it, you need to use it exactly how they say to use it. Otherwise, you're going to have a little bit of an uphill battle. Right? So if you try to use it for something it's not necessarily designed for, which, if it's designed to start sending out to a set group of people on a set date, you need to anticipate that those are the people who are going to get it. Or you want to consider, if you do want to be more flexible in how people can receive that information, if this is a time thing, then what you may want to consider doing is copying that email content and then simply scheduling emails. Scheduling broadcast emails out to a tagged audience, because that way, if someone opts in tomorrow, they still get the thing that you send the next day. They won't get everything from the very beginning, but then this is supposed to be a day-by-day thing. It's not the best way to create campaigns, but if somebody else is creating it and you're using it in exactly the way that they design, it's going to be great. Just understand, if you go outside of that, it's going to be challenging. And I think a lot of you guys have experienced that this week.
Yeah, it's a little bit of admin overhead with keeping that up, keeping people in the right way. So.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Gwen had a question here. I think this is an important one for people to understand. She said, I had a little glitch when I used a kiosk landing page at a vendor event that asked for email and phone and had a campaign tied to it that had email and text options selected on the campaign. So every person who gave me their info that day got both emails and text messages, which was a little much. So I'm just trying to make sure that I have this right.
Yes. Yep. That's the setting I was showing earlier. The easiest way to do that is when you're editing a campaign, click on the name here. And sorry, if you're on the list, you can actually click the little pencil. It'll jump you right to the setting that has the preferred sending medium for the whole campaign. If you're looking for, something like either email only or email preferred, sounds like the way that you were going, Gwen. I mean, maybe you'd want to do text only or text preferred. I don't know from your question, but it sounds like you'd want to choose one of those. Either of those would work just fine, I think. In the case of a text preferred, if you wanted to lean towards text, that might be something that would be good for a kiosk landing page at a vendor event, because then if they don't enter their phone number, then they would still get an email. Whereas if you choose text only, then it would only send an email. So that might be a case where the text preferred would make more sense, but you definitely want to pick one of these other options here. Otherwise, the way landing pages work, if someone enters in an email and a text message, or sorry, an email and a phone number, it'll automatically go in and mark their contact as receiving contact or campaigns by both email and text. So that's why they got both, because they entered email and phone number. It marked them as like, hey, they want to receive text messages, and then your campaign was set up this way, and then it sent them both out. So
yeah. I personally am an advocate for setting up separate campaigns. If you want to have a text campaign, make it separately. And keep the email one separate from the text. And so you could use the kiosk mode landing page, and you could have a text in code, print it out and put it on your table. If people want to text in, maybe they get something different for texting in. Maybe they get it entered into a drawing. And then of course you've got this other cool thing that you're doing with your email. So I recommend to keep those separate. That way you don't have that phenomenon of like, oh, you're texting and emailing the same stuff. This is too much for me. Let's see. So she said, so probably a good idea to go through my contacts and do a little New Year customer care call. Which way would you prefer to hear from me? That's a good way to go. Definitely. Or, just as you're going through your care calls, and just ask that when you are speaking with them. Say, hey, what's, just making sure we've got everything up to date. Is this the right number? Is this the right email? What's your preferred thing? And then you can just, while you're on the phone with them, you edit those settings and stuff inside of your contact manager. That's a good thing I recommend everybody do that if you're going through your care calls. With leads, if you're getting leads online, that's going to be a different story. But with people who are actually in your organization, if you're making those calls, yeah, ask so they expect to hear from you, and they know that you expect to be heard. Right? So when you're doing this kind of stuff, whether it's just outreach and continuity or it's lead generation, it is again all about setting expectations on them hearing from you, and from you them opening their emails and maybe even responding. You get to decide how that goes, because it's your business. Let's see, I want to say there, Kim, Amanda, were there any other topics related to campaigns that you guys have noticed we've gotten a lot of questions about this week that maybe we can kind of demonstrate that we haven't covered already?
Actually, I think you covered most of them. Some of them were kind of specific to what plan you have, and so being able to change the specific times that can go out instead of just default. So we covered most of the things that I've seen coming into the emails for support for us. Otherwise, Amanda, did you see anything else?
No, I think we've gotten it pretty good today.
Good. Thank you, ladies. All right, we've got a couple more good questions here. Maria's asking, where can I edit my contact me pop-up page? Also, if the newsletter box is checked, this appears to trigger the new prospects campaign. Is this correct? Yes. The new prospects campaign, if you have not replaced that campaign, which is default, with something else, that is what they would be receiving, right?
One thing.
Right.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go, sorry.
So about that campaign, there is a way to change it. I'll show you there's some customization options for that Contact Me, but if you want to change the default campaign for that Contact Me page, that's under Contact Settings, and then scroll down to General Settings, and you'll see, you know, not only is there like email signature and some other options here, but you'll see a whole bunch of default campaigns for each of these countries, depending on which theme that they're, you know, your visitor happens to be on. You can set them. And the GetOiling default is that new prospects campaign that Marie just mentioned, but you can write your own and then, you know, use anything that you want to in place of that. So you can definitely do that if you want your own. And this is where you would customize that Contact Me box. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that, that's like this feature here, this Contact Me, that's in the menu by default on all of our websites. Unless you customize your menu, there are ways of making, you know, with a page builder, you can add a button that actually pops up that box too. But it all opens up the same box. Right now, this box, other than this takes your picture from your profile, not profile, but your story. So under My Story and Photo is where that would be. And you can change, you know, the photo you put there is what appears here. Otherwise, you know, if you have social media, those do show up here. This demo site does not have any social media, but you see some social media icons that shows your name, email address, and then this text right now is not customizable at the moment for the Contact Me box. So there's some limited customization available there.
And that was one thing that I wanted, you know, to mention too, that was kind of a lot of questions that came in, was the landing page and that link that Greg was just mentioning, is people asking, can you remove that, you know, the send me notifications?
This one here?
Right. Yep.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
Whether that be for the landing, you know, for events or for, you know,
yeah, for the Contact Me. So either way, yeah, this is currently not a setting, but it sounds like it might be something we should add to our wish list for at least the messaging there and what it should be.
Right. Well, I mean, people do have the option to select email or text or neither, right? So, I mean, if they, Greg, is this correct? If they choose neither, they're not going to get a campaign applied to them, right?
Correct. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
This triggers the campaign or not if they don't have it checked.
Okay. And yeah, we do have, I don't remember where it is on the events page, but definitely on like the landing pages and stuff, that text is editable, where it's like, yes, send me my newsletter or something to that effect. Like that's always a field that you can change. Yeah. So send me my free guide, or you get to change this to whatever you want it to say. But that checkbox is saying, you know, I want to hear more from you. That's the thing that triggers the campaign. Let's see. We had a question here from Gwen. Would you recommend having something on the landing page in that circumstance that says send me your guide to my email, or send me or text me your guide, versus just having email and phone listed? I think that the smart move is to like if you have this setting available, the text preferred, if that's how you want to do it, or the email preferred, is going, like, using one of those. But I think really having them segregated, having the, like, if people are opting in on a landing page, they have to put their email in. You can't not put your email in on a landing page. So if you want to utilize text at a vendor event, for instance, then you don't need to necessarily use kiosk mode to do that. You can have a text in code, which makes a lot more sense. If they want to receive text from you, then they obviously need to text you first. So they text that code. So I would keep both available, and for vendor events, maybe offer something a little different for both. Like maybe you get an entry into a drawing when you get the text and the email, and maybe you just kind of change them up slightly. It's good to have all of that information for folks. if you absolutely know that you want to send text and you prefer sending text and you want to use the kiosk mode landing page and you feel like that's easier for you, what you want to make sure you do is make a phone number a required field on your landing page. And then you can go text preferred or text only on the campaign. You're still capturing all of their information, but you're making sure that you can send them that. So yeah, you just check that phone one right here that Greg is showing. And then of course you could send a text campaign this way too. But I would not go email and text. I mean, just because like you mentioned, it's a bit much. All right.
Another question that kind of came up a lot is when people are doing landing or custom pages on their website and thinking that their story will not show up on a landing page or on a blog post and stuff like that. So I had to, Greg, I don't know if you want to show that of how to get the My Story to not show up in those two areas if people do not want their story to show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so any place that there's a landing page, there's a setting under My Story and Photo. If you scroll down below there, you can choose whether you want your story to show on landing pages and individual blog posts and events right now. So you can uncheck those boxes if you don't want those to be on there, because sometimes landing pages, if you don't want that personalization, you can uncheck that box. You can also do that for the blog posts and events. So yeah, even if you have a custom page, but you have a landing page set up on your website, your story would still show there. And sometimes that maybe spills the beans a little bit more than you might be wanting to. So this is a good option to know about.
Perfect. Let's see. Claudia asked, she said, I signed up for GetOiling on Black Friday. It mentioned getting 3 months of free texting. Does that start when I activate the texting or switch my number over? Claudia, just shoot us an email, especially if you're talking about switching over a number. info@getoiling.com will help you get that sorted out.
Yep.
Marie, I have seen hashtag contact for the hyperlink, I think, somewhere associated with the contact me or new prospects campaign, but now I can't seem to find it. Can you tell me more about that? When you're on a custom page, Marie, and you're editing the link, or actually really anywhere that you're editing a link in an editor on GetOiling, if correct me if I'm wrong, if you use hashtag link as the link, or hashtag contact as the link right here, then when they click that button or click that link, it's going to pop up your contact form.
That's correct. Yep. That works on the page builder. Yeah, that's the main place that people would use it anyway, I think.
Okay.
And also it is case sensitive, so you want to make sure that it is all lowercase, or else it won't work.
Yes. And also, for those of you who make custom pages, if you're adding a link that goes somewhere else, do not forget to delete that hashtag at the beginning.
Yes.
Because your link's not going to work if you don't delete that. All right. Little things worth learning. Let's see. All right. Do we have any other questions? You guys have been great today. You've had so many good questions. Who feels really good about campaigns now? You feel better about creating them, editing them? Awesome. Guys, it can take some time to edit one to your liking or to make your own from scratch. But if you follow the best practices and the guidelines, you will have a bunch of little mini robots that will save you a ton of time. I mean, even some of the stuff that we have already made for you. If you apply a new member campaign, it's going to drip information and get people excited to get their kit, right? If you've signed them up for the premium starter kit, and it's spaced out already. You don't even have to think about when they get it. Like day 11, it's like, hey, your kit's here. It's perfect. Like how if you could do that, like and just click a button, and that happens for every new person that you enroll. How much time does that save you, right? Especially if the emails are like, reach out to me, instead of you having to go and say, hey, knock, knock, you okay? How's it going? Like the emails are doing it for you. It's like having robots. It's great. I love robots. All right. Do we have any more questions before we get going?
I saw one from Benita that was up a ways. about a landing page and coming over in black and white. So yeah, just send us an email. We'll help you figure that one out.
All
See
right.
what's going on. But that's it, I think.
Cool, fantastic. Well, you guys, if you are here for the first time, or if you wind up seeing this later as a replay on YouTube or elsewhere, know that you can come here every week. If you go to getoiling.com/weekly work session, you can sign up for these. If you're already signed up for these, you don't have to sign up for them again every week. We'll let you know what we're going to talk about and send you the link right before we go live. These are totally free to everyone who is building a Young Living business and who wants to learn how to do that effectively online. You don't have to be a GetOiling member to reap the benefits of these trainings. So I know we've got a couple of, so I think there's some chat coming through. Were there questions there? I can't see.
No.
This says, this was my first Zoom with you all, and it was very informative. Thank you, Carrie.
Awesome, Carrie. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
And another person says, appreciate all your help.
We're happy to do it. All right. Well, you guys, good job showing up for your business today. Look forward to seeing you all next week. If you need help from us, you know where to find us. You're going to reach one of us when you do. And we look forward to hearing from you and helping you grow. You'll have a great week.
Cindy, if it's you need any further help, just again, send us an email at info@getoiling.com, and we'll help you get less confused.
One thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Great. Well,
Cool.
great call this week, you guys. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.